Hey, welcome to Teachers Side Income. I'm your host, Rodney Davis, and I spent 26 years in education right here on the island of St. Martin. But now I'm a retired school social worker. And I now spend my time helping career educators understand um, what their expertise is actually worth in the open market. Okay. Uh, I don't think teachers are fully aware of just how desperately they're needed in the marketplace, which is something that pains me a lot because I spent so many years. I spent so many years in education um, uh, with my colleagues, and I know a lot of them are well. We all know all. It's a well-known thing all over the globe that many teachers are underpaid and overworked, and as you're gonna hear today, there is no reason why that has to continue to be the case. All right. If you're joining from LinkedIn, welcome. And if you're on Facebook, glad you're here. I go live both on both and also on YouTube every Thursday because this conversation belongs everywhere where veteran teachers are. Okay. So this is supposed to be a Q&A. So at some point, I know that because we're new, we are going to be having more and more people, and it's going to take the format that I want, where all I do is answer questions for the full 40 minutes. Okay. Well, because I know we're seeding our broadcast at this point by getting people in. So I've prepared presentations, but I want you to know from upfront that I'm looking forward to the day when I no longer have to do presentations, right? Because I think I do a lot better with questions and answers. And so even if you don't feel like putting your the questions in the chat, catch the replay and ask your questions, and I'll make sure I address them in the following Thursday's broadcast. Okay? All right. Tonight's topic is one that I've been building towards for 3 weeks now. And I want to be honest with you, it's this one makes me a little indignant in a good way because it's I feel it's the way when you feel that something is clearly wrong and you finally have the language to say why. So the title of tonight's conversation is a pedagogic gap. Why influencer and guru courses fail and why yours won't. All right. Now, I want to first give you a number. A number. And that number is $375 billion. This is the current estimated value of the global online education industry. Okay? 375 billion, not million, $1 billion. It is one of the fastest growing sectors on the planet. And it has a course completion rate of somewhere between 5 and 15%. Let me say that again slowly so you can take it in, right? People pay sometimes $1,000. Some, of course, there are cheaper Udemy courses and so on that is just $12, right? I'm not talking about those. Okay, I'm talking about the better courses from the better sites like Udemy. Well, Udemy is one of the cheaper ones. places like Coursera and those. Okay, but there are courses on platforms like Teachable that go way above and beyond that. Okay, uh, Amy Porterfield offered a course a couple months ago that I was a part of that cost about $2,400, and it was worth it. Right? So even though you're going to hear a rant today about online courses and what they don't have and why teachers should get involved, understand that it's not my opinion that all of these courses are worthless. Some of them are worth the money that people pay, that they're charged. All right. But some people pay 1,000. Sometimes what these courses are worth 2,000, sometimes 5,000. I've even seen online courses that go as high as $10,000 or $15,000. Okay, for online courses, and somewhere between 85 and 95% of them never finish. The students never finish. Yet the industry keeps growing, the market keeps working, and the money keeps moving. And of course, the courses just keep sitting unfinished in the people's download folders. They're half watched on their dashboards or abandoned somewhere around module 3. Now, I want to ask you a question, and I want you to really think about the answer before you just react to it. Why do you think that is? Why do people not finish? The standard answer, and the one that gurus and influencers themselves give when they address this, is that students lack discipline, they lack follow through, they are not committed enough, they don't take the course seriously, their mindset wasn't. You hear all sorts of things, right? And I want you to notice something about these answers, right? It puts the failure entirely on the learner, and I want to offer you a different explanation. Students are not lazy, they are poorly scaffolded, right? That's what, and in most online course creators build a course and they build it in a way that they just consume content. They think about everything they know about the topic, they organize it into sections, they record videos, they add some bonuses, a workbook maybe, and a private Facebook group, and they call that transformation. And they sell it. What they do not do, because most of them have never been trained to do it, is to think about the learner's journey. They don't think about where the student is starting from and what they need to encounter before the later material makes sense. They don't build in moments that check understanding before moving forward. And they don't anticipate the places where confusion is likely to arrive. Okay? Because they're too close to their own knowledge and they haven't been trained to see these gaps. They know the subject, but they don't know how to transfer it. And here's what that produces: information overwhelm. Someone who bought the course in the moment of genuine motivation, who wanted the transformation, had real reasons to follow through, and they hit module 3 and don't understand why module 2 didn't prepare them for it. All right, they feel lost, they feel like they're probably not smart enough or disciplined enough. They quietly stop, and the guru never finds out because the refund window has passed. This is not a student problem, and that is actually a design problem. Okay? Now, I want you to understand something about what I just described, because I think that you may not have fully connected this to yourself as yet. What influencers and gurus are missing has a name. It's called pedagogic content knowledge, PCK for short. And PCK is the ability to not just know something, but to take what you know and sequence it, scaffold it, and deliver it in a way that someone else can genuinely learn it. Not explain it, that's just the beginning. Not just to present it as I'm doing here, but to transfer it so that the learner moves from where they were to something new. Um, it's the difference between a subject matter expert and a teacher. A subject matter expert can tell you everything they know. A teacher can move you from not knowing to knowing, and they know how to do it because they've studied the process of learning itself, not just the content. So pedagogical content knowledge is not a soft skill. It's not a personality trait. It's not a professional capacity or capability that it actually takes years to develop through formal training and sustained classroom practice. Most course creators have never heard of it. Every career educator in this broadcast has been developing it for 10, 15, 20 years. All right. And I want to be I want to be specific about what this practice actually means, right? Um, it's not about just dumping knowledge on modules. A teacher deals with a transformation, right? So what does a mastery look like at the end, right? What is it that a teacher does when they apply PCK? Assuming that the teacher knows the topic, or let's say the guru or the person that created these online courses, mostly influencers, they actually do know their topic, assuming that is the case. What is missing is what the teachers do in a classroom. So as a teacher, you guys know that you build in checkpoints, okay? Moments where the learner has to demonstrate understanding before moving forward. And this is the one thing I see missing in a lot of online courses. And if you've ever taken, let's for example, a typical example would be a Udemy course. They build these little quizzes in, but these quizzes are not rigorous enough. They don't really test mastery. It's just a placeholder so that they can tick off a box to say, I tested the student. Okay. So a lot is missing. The guru or the online course creator that is just a influencer and nothing more, hasn't had any training in pedagogy, assumes that if the content is good, the learning will happen. But the teacher knows that learning doesn't happen just because the content is good. It happens because the instructional design is sound. And these are not style differences, right? They are structural. And they are the reason a teacher built course, in my opinion, will always outperform a guru course with identical content. Here's what that means for you. Okay. The $375 billion industry that I just talked about has a very expensive, very widespread problem. And you, with your training, with your classroom instincts, with your years of practice, are perfectly positioned to solve it. Not eventually, already, right now. With what you already have, you are not just trying to compete with gurus on their terms. You're operating in a different category, and the market is slowly figuring that out. Okay. Let me just check here for pause my little rant and check for comments. I don't see any. Good. So I'm gonna pause there. Okay, because that's as far as I don't like to make long presentations, and I do have some questions that I collected from teachers over the years. Here is one. So one teacher told me, I've never thought about my teaching as a competitive advantage before. And um, this is exactly the problem, and it exactly what I'm trying to change. Right? The system that you work in doesn't reward you for thinking about it that way, but the market will. So once you learn the marketing behind it, okay, um, the market will actually pay you for your for what you're going to be able to do, because you can bridge that pedagogic gap that the gurus and influencers out there don't have. A lot of them right out there, I shouldn't be so ecstatic to report this, but I genuinely feel that teachers should be in that space simply because they know how to do it better than the people who are making all this money. And the market is now, especially with AI, the market is now is now learning that a lot of these courses are overpriced. And again, I'm not knocking all of them. I've taken some very good ones myself. Okay. I'm actually taking one now that costs close to $3,000, and it's worth every penny. So understand that I'm not saying that all of these courses out there are worthless, but I'm saying that the ones that I feel are worth it, it's usually because the person has good instructional design, and it's because they do the same things that teachers do in classrooms all the time when it has to do with building relationships with their students. Okay. And I'm here to report to you experienced teachers that the gurus and the influencers out there don't do that, and they're out there making the money. Okay. So this is my clarion call. All right. And so I'm hoping that you join us and get some courses there, learn the marketing part, because I'm going to be delivering that as well. So just stick with us. And yeah, you have to get your side income going. Um, let me see if I can. I let me scroll another question here. Here's another one. How do I compete with um what was it that she said? Oh, the gurus have a huge audience, and this teacher wanted to know how they compete with that. All right. And I'm going to tell you that you're not competing with the audience. I mean, the audience is not what brings value to the student trying to learn. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have 1 million followers on social media. That is not going to help the person who pays $1,000 for a course to learn any better. So that's not what you're competing with. Your expertise, your PCK, is what you're competing with. And with 0 followers, if you learn the marketing, as I said, that is the value that you're going to bring to marketplace that the online course industry is hungry for right now. A course that produces real results, people finish it, they apply what you taught them, they fall in love with it, and they talk about it, and they become evangelicals for your course. So don't worry about how many followers you have, right? That's has nothing to do with the success or failure in the online course space. I'm going to do one more question, and then I'm going to run over to start preparing for the presentation over in the Facebook group. In the Facebook group, but this happens at 7 o'clock. Right now, it's just about 6:19. Okay, so you have time. Okay, and what we're going to do there is we're going to transition over and go deeper into pedagogical content. Okay. Um, what I know is that this is something that all trained teachers have been trained in. Now, if you haven't been looking at instructional design for a long time, maybe the last time you saw those things was when you were in teachers college, right? Um, I go over some of those things in the next broadcast at 7 o'clock, and I try to explain it from the point of view of the online course industry, so you begin to see where that is where you belong, right? So I am not here trying to get teachers to quit what they're doing in their classrooms. The only problem I'm trying to help teachers solve is the part about being underpaid, right? Instead of waiting around for somebody to do what they were supposed to be doing and raise your pay, I'm saying go and build an online course business and pay yourself. That's what I'm about. Okay. And so we're going to go deeper into that topic. Um, I have to announce that the Facebook group broadcast that happens at 7 o'clock, you have to register for it, and I only have space for 100. Okay. If the group gets above 100, of course, I'm going to pave to handle for the group to handle more than 100 on the broadcast. For right now, as of today, it can only handle 100. So I know that everybody cannot see the comments, which is the reason why I have it on the screen, and it should also be on the comments section for those of you who can see it. It should be showing up on YouTube and Facebook as well. I'm pretty sure it's not on LinkedIn, okay? Because I can see everybody's comments, but not everybody can see mine. All right. So that's all the questions I'm gonna deal with today. I'm gonna leave the link up there for a little while, and then make sure that you go over there. But you have to register, right? You're not going to be able to attend that broadcast without the link that you see up on screen and in the comments. Okay. All right. I promised at the end of all of these sessions, I'm not going to keep it long. And when we get more people in, of course, then we're going to be having more questions for me to answer. So I'm going to continue doing this every Thursday at 6, and a small private Facebook group broadcasted at 7. They're both structured to be Q&As. I'm going to keep doing presentations until I start getting enough questions that take up all of the time. Thanks for coming. If you're seeing this on the replay, put your questions in or inbox me on Facebook or any one of the platforms. As I said, it's on all three: Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. See you all at 7. Register, and we'll see you at the top of the next hour and, of course, next week. Bye for now.